All righty. So there's always a little gap between when it's telling us it's getting there and when it tells us we're live on the screen.
Okay.
So I never know if we're in the gap. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Divine Flow Expo Love Edition. And here we are with Terra Taylor Knudson. And I just love her. Terra is such a gifted, heart-centered, beautiful soul. I'm so honored to have her here. So what we're going to do really quick while we're waiting for people to catch up is I'm going to take this moment and share this out so everybody can see it. And then we're going to talk to Terra about what the heck she is doing and how she is blessing Divine Flow Expo. And we're also going to hear about her special video, free video that she's curated for all of you. So we got a lot to do. Let me get this stuff shared out real quick. And, where did that go? Hang on. Hang on. Hang on, everybody. All right.
You know how to do this. I don't know how to do any of that.
Yeah, you know what? It has come with the territory of learning how to be an entrepreneur in a technological society.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've learned by just getting in and doing it, right?
Yeah.
Where
that's how I learned all my stuff too.
Yeah, there's so many times, and you helped me too. You came over and helped me with learning how to.
That's right. We had fun.
Do the editing, and oh my gosh, Terra, I swear, there's no way I could have figured all this out without you. I so appreciate you. And
my
even
pleasure.
What I did that was kind of crazy is I forgot to do my video. And so I am on Thanksgiving, and the day after Thanksgiving, I'm recording and I'm trying to edit, and everything you taught me went out the window. And there was one moment there where I was like, I'm gonna have to call Terra. But
that would have been okay. I was in retail, Christmas retail. So I would have been happy to talk about something else.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. There we go. Cool. I've got it out there. I've got it swirling in the metaverse.
Nice.
And again, welcome everybody to Divine Flow Expo Love Edition, where we have 8 beautiful speakers over 2 days this weekend. We had 4 yesterday on Saturday. We've got 4 today. And we are talking about love and what love is and how it's used and how you can learn more about it and how you can get into your inner wisdom and find more love within yourself, because ultimately that's where love is. It's all inside. And so Terra Taylor Knudson. Now, Terra and I have a connection that, you meet those special people in your life where it's like, there you are. I've been waiting for you. And we had such a wonderful connection because we connected through performing arts, which is something that I have loved, but Terra is a pro at this. This is what she does. And so it's such an honor for me as someone who has studied under Terra, and who has worked with her so much, but loves her, and we connect intuitively and everything. So I'm so honored, so pleased, and so excited to have Terra here with us for Divine Flow Expo. So Terra Taylor Knudson, my love, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy. It's such an honor to be a part of this expo for a second time, and also to be among so many heart-centered healers and energy workers, and who offer so many different modalities. And it's really an honor to be, a part of that. You want to know how I what I do, or what is it that
Well,
you?
yeah, what do you do? Tell, because you do a little bit different. You don't
Yeah,
come under the umbrella of a healer, although
right.
because you're so heart-centered, you totally are. But you come to us out of the performing arts
Yeah.
genre. And so tell us about that, what you do,
Okay.
and so that we can learn more about you.
Oh, you're so, yeah, that's just so sweet. Yeah, so I think it's it's been interesting for me being a part of the different practitioners that you've gathered, because as you mentioned, I come at it from a storyteller perspective, from an artist, specifically performing artist, although also just sort of in the creative arts. And while that is definitely linked to divine flow or spirit or, guides, muses, whatever word you want to use, it's a slightly different practice than maybe what you do or what some of the other practitioners do. I think you collectively have a very, well, I don't want to use the word divine because obviously that's what it is, but like a very clear channel that you can then facilitate in the moment for someone else,
Right.
and help facilitate their healing or whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. And I feel like with what I do, or with, maybe I don't want to speak on behalf of all artists, but my process is that it's almost a two-part. So the divine, I work with my guides, or whatever the word is, I'll just say guides, to create or to come through, as I mentioned in a previous talk, to kind of step aside and let that come through. So that's sort of part one. But then part two, sharing that. And you're very kind to say, to use the word healer. That's lovely. I think the arts are healing. I won't take that on as myself being a healer, because I'm just happy to be part of it. But the second part of sharing that with in my case, audience, in your case, maybe your client, is a second step.
Yeah.
So being a part of this group has been really informative to me, to have to think about how my process relates to what the rest of you do. Because you're immediate. And of course, you all are, not to say that everything you do is just in the moment, but that's largely where your healing comes through, is in the moment with someone. And mine is a little bit more, the word pedestrian comes into it, but I don't know where that's coming from, but that's what I'm hearing. So I'll just say pedestrian, in that I do section A and then section B. So I'm not necessarily, I may be a conduit, but it's kind of like my stuff has to kind of be on hold for a while. There's kind of a common understanding, at least in my training as an artist, that there is process and then there's product. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. So process is all of the gathering of, you have to learn the techniques in order to then have the tools, so that when information comes through you, however it comes through you, in dreams or meditation or in whatever, however, like as the kids say, like, oh, it's just in my mind. So however that comes through, you have to have language, you have to have an ability to communicate that, you have to know how to type or whatever, how to write, whatever or how to paint. You have to learn that. So that's part of your technique, your process. And then part of the process is whatever you need to do to get out of your way to let spirit comes through you. So if it's lighting a candle, or if it's, drinking wine or whatever, and starting at 2 a.m. And that's where I set myself aside, and I consider myself like a court reporter, where it's not always successful, but when I'm most successful is when I can get out of my own way and just listen and just report what I see.
Yeah.
So the other part of process, which is so fun and juicy, is when you are working, let's say in a workshop or in a class, or, it affords you the opportunity to just get so deep in exploring sometimes the minutia of a moment or a feeling. And that is, that's like drugs. You're just euphoric. And like all artists, well, I can't speak for all. I'll say my experience as an artist is that is just so seductive, because you just get to explore. in order to become a product, which if you're doing a class or a workshop or whatnot, you don't really have to necessarily get from process to product. But certainly in this case, for this event, you have to go from that clay and your hands are dirty and you're thinking about every emotion and you're experiencing it, to then creating, you have to finally create a vessel that can then be served up. So that section can sometimes be less, I don't want to say exciting, but it's a little bit less charged because you're taking stuff, all the raw materials, and you're having to formulate it. And once you put it into a product, it in and of itself can have a great joy for you. And particularly if you're performing it or it's a painting you're hanging up, but it is a different technique again. Yeah. So looking at all of those little steps of the process, I've had to look at how do I take my process and sort of display it visually without an audience, in my case, to demonstrate the things that I think are, being asked of me, which is to kind of show my process, but also to create a product that is going to bring up or illuminate, in this case, the idea of bringing more love and light into the world, which all of those elements are very inspiring and very exciting to me. And it is a different challenge than what I would imagine your challenge is, or someone else's who's one of the practitioners, because each one of us has to kind of figure out how do we take what we do and encapsulate it. Totally. So to the one event, to the one extreme, I have an advantage in myself in that I know how to create a product. But the challenge is, what's the process for this? Where's the raw materials for this? Because usually I'm creating with the understanding that something's going to be performed or it's going to be experienced and expressed live. I'm going to have an immediate reaction. I'm going to know if I'm hitting or if I'm not. I'm going to know if I need to turn up the tempo or slow it down. So it's been an interesting, and I'm very uncomfortable talking about myself, although it probably doesn't seem like it, but I'm very uncomfortable. So not wanting to make a piece that's just talking about myself, because that's not interesting to me.
Right.
But I'm the subject of my piece. So so it was an interesting conundrum. And it took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I was very sort of, arrogant in the beginning of thinking like, oh, I have a great title. This will be really exciting. And then I started to do the deeper research and I was like, oh, I'm so screwed. Why did I pick this subject? It's so hard, but it's stuck with me.
What is something that's coming to me as you're talking about it, storytellers, which you're a creator. Not only are you an actress and a performer, but you write, you perform, you write music. I mean, you're like the whole package. And what keeps coming through my mind, what keeps coming to me is there is healing in the storytelling. In the ancient indigenous tribes, in the current indigenous tribes, the storytellers, the record keepers, the historians, the ones that teach life lessons through the story, parables, right? Mm-hmm. Is so powerful, so juicy, and so important to the well-being of any community, any collective. Yeah. And this is what you do, Terra. You're the storyteller and you have your processes and the way that you do it, but you heal through the story that you give, whether it's a song, a play, a video like you're doing for us here, which is so exciting. And so it's neat. I love how you describe the components that need to be put together to create that. And it's so wonderful because
thank you.
This is your heart and soul.
Yeah.
This is what you do. And this is why I'm like, oh no, you're a part of this. Even though you don't fall under the same umbrella per se.
Right.
As some of the other speakers, you still totally do, because you are the storyteller.
Thank you.
You are the one that carries the messages, the teachings, the love, the history, all of that through to the collective.
Oh, that is an honor. Thank you
And
for
it's
saying so.
powerful.
Thank you.
It's powerful. And you have some productions that you've done that are absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous. And you have some projects that you've worked on, one of them being bullying.
Yeah.
That you have worked on, you know, that
Yeah.
that just brings so much information to people to be really, really mindful of what's going on. And it's come through partially some of your own experiences and what has happened to you. That's powerful healing.
Yeah.
That is powerful healing.
Yeah.
So Tara, tell us a little bit about this video that you have created for all of us, because it's called What Will Be Your Legacy?
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful video. Tell us a little bit about what this is about. What is a legacy?
Exactly. And that is the question that very nearly drove me into a stupor. There's, one moment in the video where I literally just take the bottle of wine and start drinking it, because it's just like, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I'd been fighting with lighting and green screen and I had given up. I was like, there's no makeup, there's no nothing. And I'm like, this is kind of funny to me. I'm like on Wikipedia typing the definition of legacy, and it's giving me all these definitions of like financial institutions and software. And I'm just having a meltdown at 2:00 in the morning. And I'm like, screw it. And I hit record and start drinking the wine because it was like too much. But yeah, so this is going to sound really self-aggrandizing, but I don't mean it. I don't know where titles come from, but I know that from the time I was a child in elementary school, and the first time you have to like write a poem or something, all the way through my college career and beyond, the first thing that comes to me is a title. And almost always, I think there are sometimes when I have an idea, and what I've done, I'll write sketches and then I'll change, I'll add the title later, but almost without fail, I would get the title first. And then I would write to that title, which can sometimes be an interesting challenge, especially when you're doing a research paper in high school and you're like, I really love this title and I have to find a way to tie my research into that. But yeah, so that title came to me. I don't know why, but it seemed to be something that I needed to address. And being a little bit unintentionally sort of overconfident, I thought, well, as a storyteller, and thank you for saying that I'm a storyteller, that is a thing I'm most proud of, and that is what drives me. I love stories. I love history. I love all of it. I love human interactions and psychology and behavior. So I think when I had the idea of the title, or when it came to me, I thought, oh, this will be a really exciting opportunity to write about stories, not fiction, but I thought, oh, there's a lot of meat in that concept. But what I took for granted is that there would be a definition that we all kind of universally could agree upon, right? So couple that with the fact that, we were in October, well, the end of September is kind of when I declared that title. And so I had the month of October, and just like everybody else, I've been working and I was doing my first performance outside of COVID. So there was a little stress there and, this and that. So I was cogitating the concept of the piece, but I didn't know what it looked like. And as I mentioned before, I was trying to figure out, how can I use my modality and create something that is in kind with what others are doing? And I didn't have an answer, and that was getting very stressful. So I did the thing that is, to me, I think important, but it's always a sign of panic, which is that I started to look up the definition. I'm like, okay, let's just look up the definition. And literally the first definition I came across, thinking that I would get a definition that's like that which we pass on, or the thing that is what it was most remembered about us, or that kind of thing. No, I got financial definitions. I got definitions about software. There was nothing in the list that had anything to do with a heritage or a passing on or anything like that. It was really quite upsetting. So then I was really kind of like, okay. So then I started asking friends. That's when I really start getting desperate, is when I start interviewing other people. And I was at a little potluck bubble, quarantine bubble dinner with just a few friends. And I was like, okay, guys, so trying to be casual. So I have this project that I'm working on, and the title is What Will Be Your Legacy? And I just want to ask you guys, like, what do you think? And there were 3 other people in the room, and there were 3 distinct definitions.
Wow.
So then I was really panicking. And so I don't remember what else was going on, but something was going on. Hang on, my computer is spinning. Okay, good. That made me nervous. Something else was going on that made me have to delay even a little bit further. So I ended up taking some days off of work. So my thought was, okay, I'm going to have these days off of work. I told my partner, like, you can be out there watching TV, but like, he couldn't interrupt. Like, I have to be in here. I have to do my thing. I have to be really disciplined. And I just sat and just panicked because those days like melted away. And finally, I mean, I was writing round the clock at one point.
Wow.
And I was very happy with what I wrote, but then I was very short on time, because then I thought, well, what I've really written here is a solo performance, and which is how I write. So then talking about process and product, then I was stuck with a process that I was really happy with, and a product that I was like, I don't want to memorize 15 pages of dialogue single spaced and then record it on video. I am like on crack. So, and I kept getting these visuals. This is a visual medium, and it's such a sophisticated visual medium. People will not be able to cogitate just tons of dialogue, just me spouting off all these ideas without having visual support, which meant I had to edit a video, of which I don't like filming myself. And so my apartment became like a disaster zone. You were stepping over wires. Like it was so sad. I feel so bad for everybody who came over, but I was like pulling all-nighters, because then I couldn't get rid of the concept of I could see visuals for each one of these pieces. And so I was researching B-roll and editing and green screen and this. And so literally it was like, wow. I couldn't. Yeah. I mean, I was the things that, first of all, there's a lot of awesome free stuff on the internet.
Yes, there is.
Everything that I didn't create myself was all royalty free and credited, and thank you, Jesus, and all of that, because all the sound effects, everything was, which is, as you know, is a process in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then my editing skills are intermediate level. I don't consider myself advanced, but I can do some things. But the problem is thank you. You're very sweet. But I mean, I'm not fast. So I edited the first little section, which took me 100 years. And it's like 2 minutes long. And I showed my partner, and he's like, wow, that's really great. Now you have to do that for the whole piece. And I was just like meltdown. What am I doing? At one point, like I said, at 2:00 in the morning, I literally typed in, I kind of edited it out so you can't see it, but I literally typed in to Google, why did I pick this topic? I'm insane. Just to see what would come up. But yeah, so it was an interesting process to product this time. And I would say I'm grateful for the way it turned out, and with love and gratitude and respect, I will say I'm also grateful that it's done, because I did think for a while it was going to kill me. But I think as a storyteller, or at least my experience, I probably make things too hard. I don't know how to work smarter and not harder, but it was like so stuck in my mind that I wanted to tell this. I wanted to get to the bottom of what is legacy. And as people had different definitions, I felt like, well, then we have to kind of explore those different definitions and how do they come together to create a universal understanding. And what I say at the beginning is, I don't think there is just one answer.
Yeah.
But I think one through line, and I don't explore everything people said because I would still be editing, but I think, we pick 3 or 4 different kind of ideas and kind of explore them. And then I think the sum total of what I take to be a legacy is the story that is told about us after we are gone. So the quality that is given or assigned to our lives based on how we lived. And that can be, that can be a legacy of, because you literally have grandchildren, or because you've created something, a sculpture, or because you donated money, or because you built software, whatever. That's more of a tangible legacy. But I think it can also be more what is interesting to me, which is an intrinsic quality, just because, by the very fact that you exist. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. I don't know if I was able to really successfully underline that in the piece, but that the intrinsic value of having walked and lived and breathed has an impact, whether or not it is ever seen or known by anybody else. And I think that's what legacy is. And the result, or the concentric circles that are created because of those steps and breaths, the impact it has on everything else, whether visible or invisible, is the legacy. So my sort of call to action, because that's also sort of part of creating not necessarily a performance piece, but at least a dissertation or something, is to have kind of a call to action. And so my call to action is, so if those are true, then what are the things we can do now, while we're conscious, while we're here, while we're aware, to ensure that the vibrations we put out there, that the legacy we put out there, that the effect we put out there, and that the quality that is assigned back on us after we pass is one of love, light, inclusion, positive, positivity, progressive, and I don't mean that politically, but progression towards something better than what we have. I think it's the whole idea of wanting to leave the planet better than we found it. So
Wow.
yeah, so that's what happened.
What comes to mind is that saying, it's like at the end of days kind of thing. It's like, people won't remember what you had.
Yeah.
They'll remember how you made them feel. And that feeling goes out forever and ever. And that sounds kind of like what you honed in on that too.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful. My gosh. You know what? We all, go through our trials and stuff with creating these videos, because none of us have any experience, but it's so cool listening to your process, Terra, because you know what it takes to do this stuff like big time, right? And I love it. I just have this visual of like green screens and the cords and the lights and the microphones and a whole production. And I can tell you, we all appreciate all that.
I'm so glad. I mean, I hope it translates.
Your video is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It always is. It always is.
Thank you.
You're such a treasure, and you're such a loving, heart-centered person. Aww. And care so much that your message is pure. And that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And not pure in like good or appropriate, but pure from you, which is that divine flow that we're talking about, right? Yeah. You are working in that all the time. I always have such admiration for, actors, actresses performing. I come from the entertainment business. My background is the music industry, but artists and architects and all these people that contribute the beauty to the world, and that is kind of not really glorified necessarily, or when it is, it's kind of after they're dead. Yeah. But they're all divine flow. It's like they're all flowing the existence of this beauty and this importance, and this storytelling too isn't always beautiful, and it isn't always positive, right? But it's always impactful. It's always important, and it always shifts consciousness and
Yeah.
makes people have to move into the inner to investigate their feelings about it. What is this bringing out for me? Why do I feel so emotional when I look at this or when I
Right.
watch this?
Right.
It brings it back into the inner. And that's where healing and growth and awareness and consciousness and awakening happens.
For sure.
So
For
your
sure.
process and what you're creating is the same outcome,
Yeah.
is awareness and
Yeah.
growth and progression. I love that. I love how you went, not a political thing.
I'm not talking, I mean, you know, we can go
It's
into
like that word's
that's
been
different.
hijacked.
Right. I know there's so many words that have been hijacked. It's really upsetting, but no, I appreciate that. And I think, yeah. And just to circle back, on the, you know, on the idea of being positive, I'm not indicating or not trying to indicate that
Yeah.
projects necessarily have to make you happy or anything like that, but that there's an awareness of moving the needle forward, whatever that looks like. And one of the things as a younger artist that really was impactful to me, and continues to be, but it really, I remember early 20s just being really in awe of the fact that, you know, most of us who are artists either don't make our entire living off of our work, or in some cases it's not even a source of income, or more often it's, you know, it's we're not known. We're working all the time, but we're not necessarily known. So two things that strike me is that, you know, there's not a lot of value that's placed on, you know, what we do. And I think that's true for any of the people who are in the healing arts of any kind, or education, or anything that has to do with kind of, you know.
But I want to add yet.
Yes, let's say yes. That's good. I like yet. I like yet. I like yet. And so there's not necessarily an awareness of just how many people are talented.
Yes.
And I don't just mean in the arts, although that's mind-blowing. That was one of the things that opened my mind as a young person, is meeting all of these incredibly freakishly talented you know, adults. I was, you know, young adult who do this work, in my case mostly performance, but not always just that, because they have to.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not how they make their living, but they are artists. And just how many, and then not even just that, but, you know, people across the board have just unbelievable genius and talent. And there was a part of me that was frustrated, because it was like, how does the world not know who you are and what you're doing, and you should be celebrated? And it just makes me realize that, you know, I would argue that, you know, everyone has incredible genius and talent. And that's why it was more poignant to me to dig down into sort of the intrinsic value of just us existing, because there is no way to capture how much talent and grace there is. We'll never see it all. So just to know that it's still having an impact. You know, my sister is phenomenally brilliant in the classics and all kinds of things, and she has taken up needlework. And I mean, she's gone from learning how to do it and being good, but, you know, to being a genius at it. The stuff she's creating is legitimate art. And of course, the best compliment is, oh, you should sell that. You know, that's like, this is good enough to sell. And, you know, and whether she does or not, that's not the point. She does this now for many reasons, and the stuff she creates. And it's like, she could never sell a piece and never show another person her piece. And does that lessen what she's doing if no one knows? Right. So that's kind of what's interesting to me. But yeah, you know, I think it's been touched on by far better, you know, more knowledgeable people than I am, that civilizations are not remembered necessarily by their, I was going to say by their money, but
by their vast
fortunes. Right, by their but by what they leave behind. And usually that is arts, culture, sculpture, architecture. Yeah. And it's a bummer that those things we're still fighting for validity in that world, when I don't understand it's not separate from the things that we place value on. It's actually, it's all the same. I don't understand. That's a whole different conversation for another day.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I do really feel like that is shifting too. I think that is a reflection of what this world has been about for quite some time. But I really do, as someone who is here as a New Work leader, someone who is here to help guide humanity into something greater, the awakener, they call me. I do feel like that the arts and all of that is going to come to the forefront and is going to be seen as the beginning of all things and not the end. It's not an afterthought. It's a forethought, if you will, because it is what speaks. We see the degradation of our kids, of school, of education, just that. Because they've taken art and music and everything out. And it's like, wait a minute, where is the creativity? It's part of how we process. It's part of who we are as divine beings. And so this is restoring that into our society and restoring the importance. Is super important as we move forward. And that was part of the reason I wanted you to be here too, Tara, because you understand what that's all about. And so I so appreciate you being here and being part of Divine Flow Expo. I'm so excited.
Yay, it's an honor.
And so again, just for everybody, if we have the free videos, not just our live here, but we have free videos for you. You can click on the link that's in the information here for this live interview and go over to my website. There's a big blue button, get my free videos. Hit that. We're going to send you a beautiful ebook that has all of our people's, all of our presenters' information, contact information, and links to their videos. And you can have all of it from our heart to yours, because we are here, each and every one of us, as very heart-centered, love-centered people. We just wanted to unleash our love on the world this weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in the States. We're at a time in our world of great change. And I am going to use this word again, progression of humanity, and the arts are so important. And so thank you so much for being here, Tara, and sharing all this. I love you so
I love you
much.
too. And congratulations on this. You have done a just phenomenal Herculean effort to make this happen, and everything from the coordination and the pulling everyone together and the creating of that incredible ebook and to do it all just because you have to, because it's a heart have to.
It's a total heart have to.
It's a heart have to.
And I do the same thing. I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like not getting my stuff done. I'm not getting my video done because I totally forgot, because I was so excited doing all the other stuff. And then in that, what have I done? It's all part of the process. It's all part of the thrill. So,
for sure. Well, whatever comes through for you on your time slot is exactly what's supposed to happen. So
yeah, exactly. And and I've learned to kind of be in the flow. It gets messed up. Okay. So next up we have Judan Bodell. She's going to talk to us about the shaman's path on the wings of love.
Excellent.
And so for those of you that are watching, we are so grateful for you to be here. Judan will be with us on the hour, which will be 12 noon. And Tara, again, thank you so much for sharing. Everybody go get Tara's video. What is your legacy? And check it out and move into your own inner world. What is your legacy?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you, honey. Mwah.
Love you too.
Bye.